Hey guys, I'm Nathan from Arms and Armor. We recently had a question about how grips on medieval swords were made, so I'm going to walk you through some of the processes. Stay tuned. So, grips on medieval swords have two functions. Right? First is to give you something to hold on to, and the second is to act through compression to hold the crossguard on. Right? Both of these are really important. So I'm going to take apart this training sword of ours, just have bolted together for convenience here. And you can see the pommel fits over the tang, which is nice and thick and beefy. And the grip slides down over the tang. This is the crossguard here, right? You can see this fits the blade and it just sits on the shoulders of the blade, right? This is the way that crossguards work. They're not welded on, they're not, brazed on or anything like that. They sit, they are fitted to the blade, which means that they each individually have to be made to fit to the blade by shaping them correctly. And then the grip, this one is covered with string wrap. It's our tournament string wrap. It just holds up a little better than leather for HEMA or Western martial arts type applications, right? This is shaped to perfectly fit around the tang, right? So I just tried to put it on this way. It doesn't fit this way because it's shaped to the piece. It only goes on one way. It has to fit really nicely and smoothly in order to be able to have that compression to hold the cross on. So how do we do that? Well, this starts out with a chunk of ash wood, which we drill a hole through it, which isn't as easy as it sounds, to get it straight through. And then we use a couple of different tools to rough shape the inside of it to the basic shape of the tang. Then we heat up the tang of the sword, not super hot, but so tops, it has kind of a dull red glow. And then what you can do is burn the grip on, which means generally doing short burns to get it to fit perfectly. If you just take this thing and make this super hot, take your wooden grip and burn it on there, you're gonna burn a whole bunch of the wood away, right? You're gonna have way too much space. If you do it right, burning it on is an excellent way to get a really good fit on there. You can see this doesn't move, right? There's very little play, it fits really well. Then, right, the bottom of the grip has to fit the pommel so that they line up correctly and you have a seamless transition, right? So another thing a grip does is stylistically tie the cross and the pommel together by providing this continuous shape on there. Then when this is compressed, so on these guys, we'll make a decorative nut, crank it down nice and tight, and then heat the end of the tang and pin it over the bolt, which gives you kind of double security on here. It allows you to keep it nice and tight. And it means also that you can take it apart later if you screw up your grip or you want to change it. So the guy whose sword this is used to have a longer grip on it, and he asked us to shorten the grip to make it more like a historical sword that he likes. So we were able to take it apart and do that. It's one of the reasons it's nice to have a non-disposable fetter that's made in the same country where you fence, so that you can send it to us and we can fix it and change it for you at will. So this is one of the ways that medieval sword grips work and that they're made, right? So they compress, they hold the guard on, they give you a place to handle the sword, and they stylistically tie it all together. I want to show you a couple of other examples here. And so this is a wooden guard that has no leather on it yet. Right? You can see that it is just a piece of ash wood. Historically, ash was used, also linden or basswood. Lots of different woods could be used, mostly hardwoods. Since you're putting compression pressure on these things and they're not giant, right? You want to hold the cross on, you need a harder wood to hold up to that. If you just took a piece of pine, it would mush. It wouldn't hold up very well for this kind of guard. So hardwoods that are reasonably easy to work with. Ash is a classic example of that. This one has a riser here that's been added. You can see that it's a piece of leather thong that's been placed at the widest part of the guard here. On this one, it goes right under the pinky finger and provides kind of a separation between the hands, but that's something that's variable that can be changed depending on the preferences of the user and the style of the sword. And so that's just so you can see what they look like before there's leather on them. Here's a grip that has 3 risers, 1, 2, 3, that has leather over it. There are 2 ways to put leather over these. One way is to get the leather essentially pretty wet with glue and nice and thin, and wrap it and stretch it around the piece and then bind it with cord or string around the outside. Keep it nice and tight down. A lot of the grips that you see that have kind of horizontal wrapping patterns in them, that's usually not string underneath the leather, and it's usually string that was put on over the leather to bind and hold the leather down while the glue dried. On ours, we shrink these on with beeswax. So we take really thin pig leather, right? So it's super fine, thin leather. We sew it into a tube, turn it inside out, stick the grip inside of it, paint it with beeswax, and then heat it so that it shrinks on. It's one of the historical ways of doing it. We kind of like it because it gives that really nice waxy finish and it shrinks on really nice. There's a bunch of ways of doing that. Now, the other way to do these grips that still work with compression is to split them, right? So this is one that we made normally. We burned on so that it fit, and then we split it, right? And this one is split because the particular construction of the sword that this is going on doesn't work very well if you just have the guard, slide this over the tang, put the pommel on, then try to peen it. It's easier to peen the pommel on that one before the guard is on. So this one, we'd have the cross on the tang, put on the pommel, peen it, but already have this fit, so then this can come back in, fit perfectly, clap on with glue inside, which they used glue at the time. Their glue is a little different, a little crummier, smelled worse. Little glue inside, and then wrap it with leather and glue and cord, right? So they can fit around the tang like that. The other thing, or the other style of medieval sword grip was a scale grip, like on this trainer here, which is more like a lot of modern knives, where you have the tang or the blade extends full thickness all the way through, and these wooden scales are shaped and then pinned and glued onto the blade itself. Now, this kind of grip works really well for certain kinds of swords, especially ones that don't have the same kind of pommel and ones that don't need compression to hold the guard on, right? So messers, things like that, you can have this, frankly, kind of easier to make handle, because the only thing these handles are doing is providing you something to hold on to rather than providing this compression strength to keep the whole sword together. Right? So this is kind of a passive grip, and the other one's an active one that keeps the sword in a single piece. So I hope this was helpful and interesting to you. Take a look at more of our videos. Thank you.